Welcome to an Our Father's House broadcast with Amanda Clinton.
Good morning, Accra. I just forgot to wish you happy Valentine's Day yesterday, so I think I'm just going to wish you happy Valentine's Day today. Hope you're having a fantastic morning and that I truly do wake you up this morning. On today's program, I'm going to be talking about how your petition is going, which sounds quite weird, or quite a weird thing to say, since we're not in court. But today's program is about how your petition is going, and there's perhaps no better way to do that than to put the topic of discussion in context. And to do so, I'm going to go to Luke 18 from verse 1 to 8. That once again, Luke 18 from verse 1 to 8. And this reads, the parable of the persistent widow. And it starts, and he told them a parable to the effect that they ought always to pray and not lose heart. He said, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected man. And there was a widow in that city who kept coming to him and saying, give me justice against my adversary. For a while he refused, but afterwards he said to himself, though I neither fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will give her justice, so that she will not beat me down by her continual coming. And the Lord said, hear what the unrighteous judge says, and will not God give justice to his elect who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long over them? I tell you that he will give them justice speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on this earth? And that's just taken from Luke chapter 18 from verse 1 to 8, because I'm talking about how each of our petition is going in terms of how we are praying to God and, how we are seeking counsel in his court, because I truly believe that in talking to God, one should forget the religiosity of it all. One should forget the chanting, the screaming, the rocking back and forth, and the constant noise, and just to be still and speak to God as if you were speaking to a friend. Because I mean, if we think that treating God as the ultimate judge of the universe, and if we were, for instance, to go to court, we wouldn't start screaming and shouting and chanting and rocking back and forth to God, or to a judge, or to an earthly judge, because that would seem quite strange, and we're very unlikely to persuade that judge as to our stand. But if we go to our judge, with a petition, with our requests, and why we need that request, it is likely that based on the circumstance of our request that he will grant that. So even more so, I think, with the parable of the persistent widow, it's just to contrast and to ultimately say that if we go to the ultimate judge, which is a just God, will he not hear our petition if it is structured, if it is from our heart, if it's from sincerity, and if it's relating to our need. And therefore we must learn to talk to God as if we're talking to an old friend. I think, just speak in our own natural voice, the voice that God knows that we speak in, and to just speak sometimes in the quietness of our car, to just mutter to him the things we need his protection for. And in so doing, I think that's where the blessing really comes, and that's where I found the blessing comes in, or has come in my life, in terms of just speaking to God like an old friend, walking up and down, pacing sometimes, but just quietly speaking to him and just carrying on the last conversation without end. Our prayer should be this eternal prayer, in terms of we don't really wrap up, in terms of we just pick it up the next day, or pick it up when we get into our cars, or whenever it is. But the sincerity of your voice and the sincerity of your petition is what is so important. So that's why I think I'm concentrating on how each of our petition is going to God, and how I hope that we're still praying, we're still talking to him, because sometimes I think even the word prayer, I think, just puts people off, because it's like, oh gosh, this whole religiosity thing. So just think of prayer as, take out the word prayer and just think of it as a conversation, just having a conversation with God, just letting him know all the things that you can't talk to other people about, all the things you can talk to other people about, and you're just being incredibly sincere with your requests, and leaving it to him to work it out. Because if a unjust judge, as we see in Luke 18, if an unjust judge is someone who can consider a person's petition based on the fact that, she keeps on bothering him. What do we think that a just judge will do in our life for all to see? So I think it's just so important to remember, the fundamentals of our walk with God and with Christ, and the fundamentals is essentially, to me, just petitioning God as if you were talking to an old friend, as if you're entering his court, and just speaking with such sincerity that he will indeed hear our prayer, because he's a just judge. Therefore, we mustn't lose heart, because success for many people, a lot of people have defined their success as always striving on and not giving up. Therefore, the essential way we can do that is just to keep praying to God, to keep praying and not lose heart. Prayers in our cars, the whispers of our thoughts, the whispers of our fears, just letting him know how we are doing in this earthly journey where we're having this spiritual encounter, and we want to improve that spiritual encounter. And with the case of the parable of the persistent widow, she just wants justice. She's not asking for the advantage, she's just asking for justice. So we can certainly go to our ultimate judge, the judge of the universe, the ultimate chairman of the universe, if you like, with our ultimate prayer. And in the parable of the unjust judge at Luke chapter 18, the judge does not answer because he cares about God, justice, or the woman. In that time, women's prayers or petitions were rarely heard, and that's why it's so significant that this one was heard, because even a woman, even in her day, her petition to an unjust judge was heard because she was persistent. And this unjust judge answers because ultimately she's annoying him. And I think God doesn't necessarily want us to pray to him until we annoy him, because we can never annoy him. He has all the time in the world for us, that we don't have to beat down doors and beat down gates where the person doesn't want to open. We have that natural relationship with God by virtue of the fact that our soul was birthed from eternity and automatically connects to him. So he's ultimately extremely familiar with who we are as souls, and just wants that connection even more, because he identifies more with our souls than our physical body. Therefore, God will ultimately bring about justice to the elect who cry to him day and night. And crying to God day and night, to me, is not, this chant. I see that sometimes in church, and I'm just like, gosh, is it me, or do I just pray differently? But to me, prayer is just speaking to God in a sincere way, because with anything that we get in life, be it in court, be it with our partner, be it with our family and our friends, our boss, our interactions with people, anytime we get an advantage in terms of them actually listening to what we have to say, we get the advantage because they hear us from a sincere place. We get the advantage because they are connecting to what we're saying. We get the advantage because we're not alien to them in terms of our behavior, but we are being sincere and we're being real with our requests. Therefore, if we behave like that in life and get what we want, why do some people, I think, think that they can't get what they want from God if they talk to him in a real voice? One must always have a certain amount of reverence for our God, but our God is ultimately our Father, and as such he wants us to talk to him like we would an old friend. Talk to him because he is our oldest friend, and talk to him because we have faith that he will do what he says he will do, which is to give us a peaceful time on earth as it is in heaven. So the elect who cry to him day and night, in terms of their sincerity, in terms of their requests, in terms of just speaking with a real voice that they would use on a day-to-day basis, but ultimately using that voice for God, is where we will get our breakthrough in life ultimately. And I speak like this with such confidence because I sincerely know that every time I've gotten my breakthrough, like a serious breakthrough that just was speedy, it was just like instant, it was real, it was exactly what I needed, was when I spoke to God with a sincere voice that I really have this this need. I think I can handle this situation, therefore can you just help me out a bit here, because I think I need a bit of your help. And every time I've spoken to God with a sincere voice, with my voice and with my real plea, and making my petition the way any decent lawyer would, so therefore just structure your argument in a way that is sincere to your heart, And I promise you, I in fact guarantee you that God will hear your prayers. But ultimately, as it says at Luke 18 at verse 8, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on this earth? And I think that's such an important line within that verse, because faith is just belief in things, that we can't. It's substance in things that we can't even see. Faith is just knowing that He's going to work it out. Faith is just making your petition and leaving it to God to do it. But because we are physical in terms of having a body that encases our souls, and because everything around us is physical, including this table I'm looking at and this computer, everything is so physical around us, and full of color and expressions of life, and as we saw with the Grammys, which was done quite tastelessly in terms of one of the artists dressing as a female pope, and all this different stuff that's going on. We ultimately are all striving to feel, to see, to just taste life, when the irony of life to me is that where we can find our real peace is within us, in terms of our spirit, in terms of our soul, in terms of connecting to the only thing that gave us a spark in a body, and the only thing that will take us to eternity when our body dies. Therefore, connecting to that is so important. The first way and the only way we can really do that is in prayer, before we build ourselves up as a body of Christ to do that. So therefore, persistent prayer to me is a demonstration of faith in the character of God's attributes and the chronology of His actions, and broken down. Prayer is just the sincerity of our words, the sincerity of our belief of what God will do in our life, and just walking in an expected end, though we might not see evidence of the thing. And that is ultimately the definition of faith. But ultimately, when the Son of Man comes, will He find faith on this earth? And the ultimate way I think God will find faith is that His body of Christ, in terms of us as monuments, are petitioning to Him rigorously, daily. We're going to God's court. We're entering our prayer chambers, where anywhere is our prayer chamber, our car, in our homes, whilst we're talking to people, even in our heads. That is ultimately our prayer chamber. So ultimately, the program today is all about how your petition is going. So if you reflect and you think back, and you just reflect on your day-to-day interaction with God, how exactly is your petition going? How often are you praying to God? Because sometimes, prayer to me can even be for 5 seconds at a time, 20 times a day, just saying that, oh, I hope God is, watching this and He's helping me out with that, and please take me here safely, and just protect me and protect what I value, and just 5-second prayers. It doesn't have to be this religiosity thing, because I think Christ stated that more than anything, in terms of all these structures, all these systems, all these temples, all these things that take away the real meaning of building the real church, which is the body of Christ, which all of us are members of. Therefore, building ourselves is building Christ, and not shouting or screaming and demanding a response from God, or demanding the heavens to move, or shaking like I see happen sometimes in churches, but just the sincerity of your real voice, asking and making your plea to a just judge, as we see in Luke 18, is what is going to bring about our deliverance. And we can find that no more than in 1 King 19 from verse 11 to 13. And I've been concentrating on this passage quite a lot this week, because I just think it's so important for us to remember that God is sometimes in the whispers of our prayers, because He is catching the sincerity of our words as we subconsciously whisper our needs. It's not the how fancy we place our prayers. It's not how long our prayers are. It's not our open demonstration in front of hundreds of people that yes, we are religious because we're bowing down on the floor and we don't care who's looking. That is not. That can be sincere if it's really sincere to you, but the real sincerity is talking to God in private, talking to Him like an old friend, talking to Him in the expected end that He will work it out for you if that's what you really need. And just petitioning Him like you'd petition a judge. You'd structure your argument. You'd say, hey, I really need help on this. Can you help me out a bit? And this is why, and this is what I'm going to do for you, and blah, blah, blah. But doing it to a just judge is ultimately the best thing to do. And getting back to the verse, I seem to be talking a lot this morning, but that's what one is supposed to be doing in a program.